Hi there, my name is Emily Newman, and with me today is Stephen Brown. We are both partners and immigration attorneys at Reddy Neumann P.C., Reddy Neumann Brown P.C. We are one of Houston's largest immigration law firms. We're also a women-owned firm, and our goal is to help businesses secure U.S. visas and permanent residence for their valued employees. And today we want to talk about what happens when the government shuts down, so that you can understand how it's going to impact your employment-based immigration. So there are a couple areas that are impacted quite a bit, and then there are other areas where you won't see much impact at all. So let's start with USCIS. Stephen, how does USCIS work when it comes to a government shutdown?
Yeah, so the good thing is, Emily, for the vast majority of immigration benefits, USCIS, it's fee funded. And so the government shutdown has relatively zero impact with USCIS. What we're going to have issues with is on the DOL side with H-1Bs, e-visas, perm-based I-140s, because we aren't going to be able to access the perm system because that is from Congress. But from USCIS, they understand this. We'll talk about DOL more in a second, but USCIS understands that this happens. And so we have seen, 2019 when we had the shutdown, the couple of times prior, that they accepted late filings, late changes of status, whatever it might have been, understanding that you couldn't get an H-1B LCA or you couldn't get the perm pulled down in time to file the I-140, whatever it might be. And so they put together some documentation. But for the most part, if you have a certified LCA, if you have you're going to see zero impact on the H-1B, the E3s. Cases like TNs, E1, E2, Os, EB1A, EB2, NIW cases, L's, if I haven't already said that. That's not going to have any impact. And then your H's, when you go file them, are already going to be processed.
So I-539s for change of status to H4, change of status to B2, extensions for L2, H4, all of those should not be impacted. So basically, I-129, I-539, I-140, I-485, I-765, I-131, those are all the most commonly filed immigration applications with USCIS, and they're generally not impacted. If you've already filed, they'll continue to be processed. If you've not filed yet, the only cases where you might have difficulties are those that need something from the Department of Labor. So what happens with the Department of Labor? What cases are impacted there?
Yeah, this is where we're going to see the most impact. And it has, always has our team nervous come government shutdown time once that rumor starts, because there's a lot of impact. DOL, not fee funded. It is gets appropriations from Congress. So when we have a government shutdown, vast majority, if not all, of Department of Labor shuts down. So let's talk about the impacts there. On the non-immigrant visa side, you will not be able to file or get a LCA that's already been filed certified. That will impact H-1Bs, H-1B1s, and E3 visas. If I remember correctly, the last time, and we haven't had it since Flag came in, we had it the old ICERT. I don't even think we were able to access the website to pull down if it was certified. Let's say it was certified yesterday and we didn't download it and the government shut down today, right? Now, I don't think we can even access it. On the green card side, we're going to see two types of impacts. Prevailing wage determinations, that cannot be made, cannot be filed, cannot be made. There'll be no work on those. So that impacts the starting point of your perm-based I-140s, but also Schedule A, EB3 Schedule A, which requires that prevailing wage determination prior to filing. And then the perm filing, right? So even if you have got your prevailing wage done, you just finished up recruitment, you finished off the cooling off period, you're ready to file the perm, it's gone through all those checks, and all it needs to do is get filed. We can't do it. Can't access the system, can't pull them down, can't file them, can't pull down certified perms. There will be no processing of perms during this time. So the flag system completely in inability to access. BALCA for any appeals on holds. And, what we're going to have to watch out for as well is OFLC. They could give guidance. We don't know about what kind of guidance they're going to give for flexibilities about, hey, you can file this late, you can file that late, or other flexibilities. And getting email inquiries. When we get a company who's never filed an H-1B before, we send in the FEIN to get them, verified for flag. That's not going to happen. So lots of issues. DOL, it's more on this immigration process. That front end of anything employment based is going to be impacted rather than the back end.
Yeah. So if you already have your perm certified, already have your LCA certified, you'll still be able to proceed with the I-140 or the I-129 with USCIS because they're not impacted. But if your perm is pending, your prevailing wage is pending, your LCA is pending, they will not be adjudicated. If you have to file your perm, you won't even be able to file it. You won't be able to submit an LCA. But we have seen in the past that if you are coming up on a deadline and like for perm, you have to file within a certain number of days of when you started your ads or when your prevailing wage is expiring. If you miss that deadline because you couldn't access the system during a shutdown, in the past, they've allowed you to file late, and we'll take that into consideration so you can still proceed, because otherwise you lose a year to a year and a half's worth of work and waiting because of all the steps you had to take to get to the point of filing perm. And the same thing with an H-1B or an H-1B1 or E3. If you can't file it on time because you couldn't get the LCA, they will generally accept it late. Like maybe you're down to the last few days and you need to file your extension. It's expiring soon and you can't get the LCA, so your H-1B expires. Generally, they've allowed you to file late. We'll have to wait and see if they do the same thing this time around, but in general, that's what they've done. Now, how about travel? So CBP, that's a different agency, but still under Department of Homeland Security. Are people still going to be able to travel in and out? Are ports of entry going to be open? How does that work?
Yeah, so generally, CBP, TSA, all that, we'll focus on CBP. Those are essential. Inspection, law enforcement personnel are considered essential. Actually, anecdotally, I have a friend of mine that works with FEMA. He's already been told you're an essential employee. You'll be working, and that's under DHS as well. But CBP, definitely essential. Ports of entry are going to be are still going to be open. Processing of passengers, that's going to continue. I think in 2019, some of the TSA agents left the job, took their own furloughs or whatever in solidarity with other government employees. And look, that would make travel a nightmare for a U.S. citizen as well as immigration. But CBP, what we're talking about, for the most part, not impacted. But processing of applications filed at the border might be impacted. Our Canadian friends that don't have to have a visa, especially, where they can apply right at the port of entry for an L, a TN, whatever it might be, could face some issues if they kind of constrict the budget a little bit for CBP.
All right. And then again, speaking of travel, we have the Department of State involved in issuing visas at the consulate, visa interviews. Do we think that there's going to be an impact there, or do the fees that people pay to apply for the visa cover that?
So it's fee funded, right? So when you've got a visa appointment, it's fee funded. Those appointments should still continue. Passport operations should continue. There shouldn't be lapses in any appropriations because, again, it's fee funded. It is theoretically possible, and I don't remember if we've seen this before, that consular operations could see some impact. Consular offices do a lot more than just visa and passport processing. They do a ton of things. And so if they, shut down certain aspects of that outpost or that mission, that could slow things down, or if there's insufficient fees to keep it alive, if only one person is applying for a visa at, ABC consulate, and there's not enough, they could, slow down operations of that post. And if that happens, we'll see them only handle diplomat visas, life or death emergencies, and U.S. citizens. I don't, personally, Emily, the last few times we've seen this, I think the longest we had was about a week, maybe, and I think it was less than a week of a shutdown. I don't think this is going to get where it's having a tremendous impact. Obviously, political climate's a little weird right now, and we'll see. But I don't think we're going to be without a funded government for long.
Yeah, so this shouldn't impact a huge number of people. There are certainly going to be some impacts, but generally we can work through it. Things just might take longer to file. We might have to wait longer for things to be approved in the perm system. But overall, the majority of employment-based immigration can continue as is. So we will keep you updated on how all of that works. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our newsletter as well by going to rnlawgroup.com, so you can always stay up to date on the latest that's going on with business immigration.